Good morning. Let me adjust my camera here. Happy Saturday. It's the weekend. It's the weekend. So I'm just hanging out at my shop. Hello, if you're tuning in, my name is Shar Sethman. I am the owner of Shar's Crazy Closet. And I also have a Facebook group, a TikTok page. Let me try to get my, if you haven't joined my Facebook group, there is always a link posted. I will post it down below as soon as this live is over. I will post it. I will post I will make sure I post to my Etsy shop as well, to my TikTok account, and I am also on Instagram. I don't tend to do Instagram probably as much as I need to, or I should. But let me get over to my group page. So did everybody get to do a little bit of sleeping in? I usually don't sleep in, so that kind of doesn't really work well for me. If you're here, say hello. I am coming to you from Pennsylvania, so it is about roughly 10:15 here. And my husband is he is actually at a men's breakfast this morning. Usually I'm not in on my shop on the weekends, and I thought, I'll come down in. I actually wanted to make another bee swag. As you see the other one, I don't know, you could probably just see the remnants of it here. I made yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I did it live as well. Yeah, it was yesterday. And it's a really large one. It's 36 inches, so it's 3 foot long. Beautiful. But I thought, you know what? I want to do a smaller one. So, and we're only going to use one bee this time. Look at these bumblebees. Oh my goodness. I love these things. These are the only kind of bees, literally, that I love. Because I don't like bees. I'm terrified of them, knowing that they could sting me. So I'm going to use one this time instead of two. On the larger frame swag, I did two. So I'm going to use one. And then here is just a bunch of florals and greenery that I pulled out, thinking that I may use. As I said, I never really I have a plan in my head, usually what it's gonna look like, but that doesn't mean that it always goes that way. As if you watched the live yesterday, you seen I actually was using a beehive. I only wanted to use one bee and I was going to use a beehive. Well, I just kind of didn't like it and it wasn't jiving, and I changed that out and put a bee in there, and that happens. That happens along the way. I kind of just get a general idea and then I go from there. If you're here, I see we have 3 of you on right now currently. Say hello. Just say hello. Okay, so this is the swag. Yesterday, whenever I did it, I used the black swag. I don't have a small black swag, but I did have this in my supplies. So we're going to use this. We're going to use a green one today. And if you've never done a swag or a teardrop, as some of them call it, because a swag can actually be almost like a garland. I call these swags. I'm kind of old school. I know it looks funny to you. It's all flat. We're going to puff it up. But if you have never done one of these, they're my favorite thing to do. I actually like them a little bit more than wreaths. I think just because there's a little bit more surface that I can cover, it seems. I don't necessarily know if it is, but I love doing swags, or teardrops, as some people call them. Okay, so when you get them, there, yeah, you know how it's like a Christmas tree, right? You gotta fluff this bad boy out. That's what we're gonna do. So we're just gonna get it going, pull it out. These actually say, if you were to order them, I get these from Craft Outlet. They say that they're 28 inches, and I think it's just because it has this, it includes this funky tail. But when, you know, you could tuck this back in, which I usually do, and it ends up being about 24 inches. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull it out now, just because we're gonna fluff this out. So it was just snowing here a little bit ago. Yuck, I'm so done with snow. I don't think Mother Nature got the memo that it is the end of March. I know we still live in Pennsylvania. And, oh, well, that's funky. Okay, I got a wire here, so I'm gonna cut this off, and it's just kind of sticking out. So let me get rid of this. You know, I meant to grab from my husband. Yesterday you seen me struggle a little with some of these bigger stems. I meant to grab bigger cutters. I'm still waiting for my stem cutter. It's been on back order. And I struggle sometimes with those little cutters to cut the bigger stems. So all I'm doing is just getting all of these up and out. And some you want out toward the edge, just like a Christmas tree. Some you want pulled up in the middle. You just, I guess you just got to kind of find where your branches end up. It's kind of weird, but there's no rhyme or reason. It's like fluffing a Christmas tree. The branches pretty much let you know which way to go, though. Okay, there we are, just fluffed up, ready to go. Okay, so we got this fluffed up. This little wonky tail, I'm going to put this guy back in here, and he's going to hide out in there. Okay, because I really don't like the tails. So here we are. And the nice thing about these teardrop swags, they kind of already got a folded over hanger right here. There's a loop, one of the branches they've looped back into itself. So it's got its own hanger. Okay, so our first part of business here, let me move around my ribbons, is we need to cut the deco mesh, because we're actually going to put deco mesh in here. We are going to fill this up in here so that this swag becomes fluffy and becomes full. And I'm so thirsty today. We are going to use yellow and black. Okay, and this is what we used yesterday. And we're going to cut these roughly about 20 inches. And I'm going to do, yesterday I think I used 12. I'm going to take it down to 10. 5 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do, we'll see where we end up with this. We'll start out with 10 of them. We'll do 5 and 5. You can always add more. And yesterday I ended up needing one more, so we can always add more. I don't really like to try to not overcut my material, because then you got it kind of hanging out and you got to use it. And I forgot to get my wood burner again. This is poly burlap that I'm using. So, oh, perfect. So it works nicely if you cut it with a wood burner. It just stops it from fraying so much. And if you have seen the big rages, everybody's making those big like flowers, and they're using this poly burlap for it, and they're using a cutter to stop it from fraying. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I guess it's working. So, but you would need to make sure, not only would you need that little wood burner tool, but when you get it, you would also need to make sure that you had a glass cutting mat so that you could burn on the mat, because you would burn this if you didn't have that. So just make sure you have like a glass cutting board or a cutting mat on it. Good morning from Tampa, Florida. Well, I can probably guarantee you're not getting snow. It quit snowing. It was getting like little, it was almost like we had like, it wasn't hail, but we had some snow, like pellets. It was raining snow pellets. That's what I'll say it was doing at one point. This is probably 20 inches. Look at that. Good morning, Carrie. So yeah, I'm probably sure and certain that it's probably not snowing in Florida, and it's probably not 30 degrees out. If I was to bet, I would probably bet on that. That's for sure. Okay. I'm jealous. I love Florida. Okay. So we are going to start, we're going to do the same way we did yesterday. We're going to start filling this in. And what I tend to like to do is, I like to kind of keep the black down the middle. And then I'm going to put some of the yellow around the edge. Okay. You can do it if you want to alternate yellow, black, yellow, black. We could do something like that. Let me see how this would be. Yellow, black, yellow. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll try something a little different today. So let's do that. So when you're working with burlap or matte deco mesh, the way you do it is you always got to curl the ends under, because that's the part that usually frays. And you just finger walk it up. You end up with like this little butterfly. Okay? And then what we do is we tie these in using the branches. Where normally when you do deco mesh, you are you're doing pipe cleaners to secure it. So we're going to tie it in with our branches. All right, my husband's trying to call me. So let me just message him. Okay. So, I guess their breakfast is over already. That's strange. Usually when the men get together, they eat like till lunch. Okay, so I'm going to do a little different. We're going to go alternate. So we're going to do some alternating down the side. Since it's not black, you know, my other one had a black swag, so the black kind of just already was in there, and we just had to basically fill it in with black to give it the fullness, and then the yellow on the side so we could see it. But this is green, so we're going to alternate. Okay, so all we do is, as you can see, we just roll the end in, finger walk up it, roll that top in, and then we got this again. Got our butterfly. all we're doing, we're just filling it in. We're just making this sparse wreath have some substance to it. And that's just going to help fill this out. And we'll do one more yellow there. Usually I have a lazy Saturday. I'm usually never in my shop on Saturdays. It's the day that I kind of stay home, catch up on things, usually housework. But hey, husband's gone. He's at the men's breakfast, and who really wants to do housework? Okay, so now we'll just go back up the other side, alternating the colors back up. Now, if I was in Florida, like Carrie, I would be outside enjoying the sunshine. Is it sun shining there today? Because they don't call you the Sunshine State for nothing. It's always sunny there. Always sunny. Carrie, is it sunny there today? Is today a Florida sunshiny day? My sister is on vacation in the Dominican Republic, and she just sent some pictures. Beautiful. Never been there. I don't like flying, and I don't like flying over big bodies of water. That's even worse. My anxiety would be through the roof. They would probably have to hit me with a hammer and knock me out. So it's just not my cup of tea. I hate flying. I've had 2 not so great flights. I've flown, and I choose not to if I do not have to. And I say there's enough beautiful places here in the States, and I don't have to fly somewhere else. And Florida's one of them. I can drive. It takes us about 18 hours. We drive there often. 18 hours straight trip. We usually do a straight run because we're crazy like that. My husband used to be a truck driver, so driving to him is nothing. Okay. You know, we got one little dude here left over. So I'm going to throw him in again at the bottom. But do you see how we just kind of really filled this wreath out here? Let me throw him in down here. There we go, a little wonky. Okay, let's get this one in here. This one's turning out a little wonky. I don't like where it's landing. There, that's better. Sometimes when you grab the wrong tie, it gets weird. Okay, so now look how we beefed this up. Okay, it went from very sparse, and look at that. There we are. We've got it nice and full, got a lot of working area with it, okay? And that's what we want. We want to be able to get in there and really work with it. All right. So let's set this aside. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna make our bow. Because that is always, after I'm done with putting mesh in, My second step is always let me get my bow, because then I can place my bow and everything works around the bow. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to read messages are coming through, I can see. So let me go ahead and get in here. We are going to do our bow now. And these are actually the ribbons. I usually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I usually choose about 6 ribbons that I like to work with. And that's what we're going to do. So as you can see, this one is going to have a splash of red in it, because I think it's pretty. Okay. So let's start. We are going to use the Easy Bow Maker. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. Make sure I'm here. Okay. We're going to use the Easy Bow Maker. And if you've never used one, it's very hard to in the very beginning. But then once you realize how it works, it's very easy to use. I don't even make hand bows anymore. Simply for the fact being is because my hands don't get tired, no longer. And this is very easy to use. So I'm gonna really want some long ribbon tails on this, just because I'm gonna weave the ribbon down through the teardrop. All right, so I just let it drop from the table down to the floor. And then we're gonna put this in. And the thing with it is you, especially on pattern, hold on 1 minute, my husband's here. Here, we'll bring him in and say hello. There's my hubby.
Who are we saying hello to?
Well, we have some on. So
Out
this
there
is my
in-
husband.
Hi, out there in TV land.
In TV land. We're in TV land.
YouTube land.
Okay, I'll see you there. Okay, so I had a surprise visit from the hubby. I guess the men's breakfast was quick today. Okay, so back to it. So I want some long tails, so I'm just going to let this drop to the floor. And now this isn't a patterned ribbon, so this is just a solid, so no big deal with this one. But when you're always, just get in the habit that you always want to keep your printed side up when you're doing your bows, okay? So the way to do that is every time you push this down through this center here, you're always going to need to twist that ribbon. I twist it toward me. I find twisting it away just seems weird to me, but you could twist it away or you could twist it towards you. But I always twist it toward me. Then I go in to make my loop. All right, and I'm going to start out with about a 6.5, about a 7-inch loop. How about that? 6.5-inch loop. So when I put this down, back down in again, I'm going to do this. I am going to twist that again. And that's going to keep, when you have a pattern, when we go to a pattern one, you'll see. It's going to always keep that pattern up on your loops, and that's what you want. Now, when I put this last loop through, now if I was doing like the same ribbon and making it, I would be doing always the constant twist, the twist. But when you put that very last loop through, you need to make sure that you don't twist it, because it's just going to go straight through and fall down because your ribbon side's already up. So it's only that last tail when you don't twist, okay? Where's my scissors? So that's the only time that you don't twist. Now, if I was to be continuing on with this bow, I would twist it each time, each loop, to keep the pattern side up until I got to the end. And then again, I would let that just fall. Okay, so that's our base ribbon. And I will tell you, usually when I gather all my ribbons, I tend to make the one that's not the most seen to be at the bottom. So I knew I wanted a solid black in here, so it's usually going to be at the bottom, because the more, as the ribbons come up, you see the loops a lot better. So I'm going to put my, usually it's a solid to me, or the one that doesn't matter as much. You still see it, but you don't see it like the dominating ones as they come forward. And then next is a little tip. You want to make sure that your colors, if you're going to have different colors, like this is going to be bold against the black, that I want that. And you can use a spool holder, but because these are so big, I buy these ones are from Sam's Club. This was their spring ribbon. I was just there yesterday again. They get too big sometimes for the roll, for the spool holder. So I just leave them off. Now this is a pattern, but this, again, this pattern goes straight through. So it's not, it's patterned inside and out. So it's not a big deal again. But I'm just gonna go now, every time I work up, I'm gonna go about a ½ inch smaller in my loop size. So I'm gonna build up smaller, smaller, smaller each loop, okay? I see we have 5 of you lurking in the background. And then we're going to alternate back again so that this pops up against the yellow. And again, this is patterned all the way through. Although it doesn't make much of a difference if, you know, about keeping my loops and twisting them. Just get in that habit. So it's just become a habit to me to put them in and twist. Put them in and twist. Once you get in that habit, you can make a bow in minutes. Minutes. And I'm not talking little bows either. I'm talking big bows, so. If you haven't went to your Sam's Club, I was there yesterday at Sam's Club, and our ribbon's almost completely gone. There was only maybe 30 rolls. And they bring them in on crates, and they usually have, they're in big boxes. There was probably only about 30 rolls left yesterday. So if you get a chance and you're looking for very cost-effective ribbon, that's the place to get it. And I always go widest, so these are always 2.5 inches, and make sure it's wired. I always go from the widest ribbon to the thinner ribbon, which is 1.5 inches. And now I'm not going to make this one as long because I know these ones aren't going to weave through. So I'm not going to make these tails as long. I'm not going to waste that much ribbon for this. Now this is patterned on one side. See how this has a bad side, an underside, and how this has a good side. But as you could see, I twisted this, and it's got the inside underside, which is not the pattern side. It's going to be on the inside where it needs to be. And then I'm going to put that, and that automatically brings that color around. Brings my pattern side right side up. And I'm gonna do this honeycomb ribbon, and again, it is only patterned on one side. But now we're down to the smaller ribbon, or the thinner ribbon, I should say. Each time making it about a ½ inch shorter, my loop. And I pin my ribbons with just like the beaded head straight pins. It just helps it when it's all my tails and all of my ribbons not falling out when it's on my shelves. And I'm going to throw in a red. I could have thrown a red in there and then went to a red again, but we're going to do it this way. You don't have to always make it to, you don't always have to do your thin ribbons on the top. That's just kind of the way I do it. I've had only a thin, say I only had this red and I needed it in the middle of the bow, I would have stuck it in there. It's not a big deal. And again, this is one-sided, so every time I twist that, it's keeping my pattern upright. So now you could either secure this with a pipe cleaner or you could secure it with a zip tie. A lot of people like zip ties because they get tighter than a pipe cleaner, but I'm okay with the pipe cleaner. The trick to this is you really want this to be very tight in the center. And the reason you want it very tight in the center is because you need to have these bows, the loops, to come almost like they're puckering upwards, if that kind of makes sense. The tighter it is, the better your bow will come out. So you want this to be as tight in that center as you can get that through that center. And that's why a lot of people like the cable ties, because they, you can ratchet them closed. But I don't have any issues with the bows. Let me get this tightened. But you really want that tightened down to the point where they kind of almost come together. And then this is where you will manipulate your bow around, okay? And you can do that once it's on. Let's do that today, because yesterday I kind of manipulated it when it was off. We'll do it while it's on in here. How about that? Okay, so now is the time when I need to decide where my bow is going to go and where my attachments are going to go. If I had a sign where it would go, do I want to be here? Do I want to be up here? Do I want to be down here? Okay, I think I'm going to put the bee at the top and the bow toward the middle. Okay, so I'm going to tie this bad boy in here. Okay, I don't know why I'm not seeing this alive on my. Am I in that much of a delay? Okay, let me exit out of here, because for some reason my live doesn't seem to be working really well. There we are. That was odd. It was doing a replay for me. Okay, so I'm just going to tie this in here. And when I'm tying in my elements, I try to find the big, thick like rod that goes through the base. I'm going to tie this directly to the middle. And I'm going to try to put it right down through the core. So, meaning right through the middle. So, see how I got that? Like literally on that very thick middle. That's where I want to tie this. And when you're doing wreath making, you do a lot of feeling for things with your fingers. You're just going to be feeling around. All right, so now let's just fluff this bow out. And all we're going to do is we are going to pull these. And I always like to, when I fluff my bows, I kind of pull in different directions. So I always pull across from each other when I open them up and get them going. And you might have to push down some of your greenery. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. Okay, I think we got the bow all nice and fluffed. And here's our bow. It's all fluffed up in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to kind of take these tails and throw them up because they are not the tails that I'm going to be working with. I want to secure these in here kind of like a waterfall coming down. And all I'm going to do is just kind of poof these out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this up. See how this is still connected to the bow? These were my very long tails. All right. I'm going to kind of just throw them like this and I'm going to make a poof. So poofed it right there, and I'm going to tie it with two of these branches. It becomes my twist tie. Okay, there's my first poof. Okay. Where are we at here? Let's get this over here. We're going to do another poof. Again, we're going to twist tie it in using the branches as our ties. And we're going to do one more here, and then we're going to let some of these tails hang. And sometimes you might need to untie a, where you put your deco mesh in, and you're just going to untwist that, but then you're going to twist it into where you use the branches for your deco mesh. I just had to do that, because there's only so many branches you can have. Okay, so we're going to do this end, this side. See how this side's all in? I poofed them out, kind of separated them a little so that you can see all the colors. And then we ended up with this long tail down here, which we're going to deal with when we're done. And not everybody does everything the same way. So if you're new to wreath making, please don't feel like you have to compare yourself to so-and-so. Sometimes so-and-so is way more advanced simply because they've been doing this for a lot longer. And not everybody's style is the same, which is awesome, because if we all made the same wreaths, how boring would that be? All the same way. My style and the way I do things might not be yours. And you might find something that's easier for you to do, an easier way. Go for it. This is what makes everybody having something different to sell, because you put your own twist into things, as well as I put my own twist into things. I take a little bit of this and a little bit of that I've learned over the years. I've dropped some things I didn't like or I wasn't good at doing certain ways, and I figured it out myself, the way that I was able to do it. And that's what makes your bumblebee wreath different than my bumblebee wreath. See, now down here I have to untwist this where I tied in my mesh, just so I can put my poof in there. Okay, so now we got this side done. Okay. And then we are going to come down here with some tails. So there we go. We've got the poofs put in, okay? And then we'll have these long tails. We'll deal with those at the end. All right. And now, I want to come up here. I'm going to secure my bee up here. I want to get him up here, so we're going to remove his tag. I just want to at least make sure that he's fitting nicely up here now that I got that bow in. Oh good, he is. Okay, let's deal with the bow then, since he's fitting up there nicely. Refluff back some of this, my mesh back up that got kind of smushed when I was putting in my bow. Okay, so up here I'm going to need to trim down some of these ribbons, the ribbon tails. So I got to decide on which ones I'm going to keep long, which ones I'm going to keep short. And you know, ribbon tails are all about, you can dovetail them if you want. You can just slant them. It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. And if these tails are falling funky, we're just going to adjust them. And you can take your fingers, slide them up over, and you literally can curl your ribbon. So if I wanted to put a little curl on the end of this, I can simply take this and curl this with my fingers up through, and I can have some curly cues in here with my ribbon. Hello, if you're hopping on, say hello. I'm going to trim this one down a little bit. So we can do a little bit of curly cues. Get to the next one here. Happy Saturday if you're hopping on. I see we have a quiet bunch this morning. And I'm just rolling some of these. We're going to do some rolls today. me see where we're at. Okay. I am going to just cut these off now. And we're going to make them different lengths so they all show. Need to cut this one smaller. Sometimes that's why I like being at my shop, because it's quiet here. It's very quiet here. I actually share the shop with, I'm actually in about a quarter of the building here. I share it with a hair salon. She's next door. Even though Saturday's a busy day for her, they're quiet. I don't really hear much through the walls. This one down a little more. Okay. So sometimes it's nice just to have quiet. And you know, swags and wreaths, and it's all about the ribbon. Even floral decor. So say if I was doing like an arrangement, ribbon is so important. Okay. Here we are so far. Okay. Now I'm going to, I wanted to get some red through this. Have you ever seen this? I buy this at the Dollar Tree. And it is just mesh, it's tube mesh or mesh tube. This is the red, and I thought I'm gonna weave this through here a little bit. I actually think I have, yeah. Just to give it a little bit of red throughout my swag. And I love this because it's a very subtle thing to add to your wreaths or to your swags. And the way I do it is I like to sometimes, let's see if it works for this, because on my wreaths what I do is, yeah, it's not going to probably. I usually just do a loop or two, and then I cut it off and I kind of just attach it to the branches. And I might do that. So I just take a little bit, I will just roll it into like a lasso roll. And I just usually just throw it in here and connect it and let it kind of just get like wild and crazy. And guess what? We're gonna get wild and crazy. Let's see how that looks. And if it doesn't, you can just always weave it through. No biggie. See how we're just giving it some red? And literally it ends up almost looking like a little bow tie, because I just attach it in to the branches. As if it was like a pipe cleaner. So when I fold, I just kind of do this, make it like a little bow, and I'm going to stick it in and around just to give it some red. Pops of red. I'm gonna probably have to end up recurling my bottoms here on my swag because I'm messing with it around it. So you don't have to, with this, you don't have to do nothing. It's just ready to go. You just cut it and you can just stick it all around and give yourself pops of color. These come in so many different colors. I have oranges and browns and greens and lime greens and dark greens and pinks, purples. And every time I see them, when I go to the dollar store, because this is where I always get them, I pick them up, I immediately grab them. And I'll grab 2 or 3 because they're only $1. I mean, come on. You can add so many pops of color with just this inexpensive mesh tubing. See how I'm starting to bring some red in? I had a hard time finding red flowers. So I did find a few red there. I don't know if I'm going to use them or not, but I wanted to bring red in, so I knew I had a bow and I knew I had this mesh tubing. So this is how I'm kind of going to incorporate red for sure. And you could do your tubing all different kinds of ways. If you wanted to weave it down, I've done that where I've just taken it and I've just weaved it through. You could do it that way. I'm going to put 1 more in because we always like an odd number. So I have 4, we're going to do 5. You could just weave it down through and let it stick out like randomly, like wild. That's fine. Now here's how I incorporated some red. Can we see that? How it's, now you can see some more red that's going through it, so it's not just this little piece of in the bow. Okay. Okay, so now that we've got that in there, let's move on. We're going to attach our beautiful bee. And he is going to be sitting front and center at the very top of our wreath. Now, if you've seen yesterday, the easiest way for me to be able to attach him is I poke a little hole with a screwdriver in his abdomen here, and then I poke another one up here in like his chest area. Okay, and then I get my pipe cleaners. I take 2 pipe cleaners. Since he got 2 holes, I fold it in half, and I don't know if you can see, I'm going to use my glue pot right here. I am going to dip this in, and I'm going to shove it in that hole, and that's going to give him an attachment. Where he didn't have one. We're going to let that dry for a second. Happy Saturday if you're hopping on. And that just will take a second to dry. Okay, so let's set that aside. Okay, so let me look at these red flowers. These were the, believe it or not, I was at Michael's just this morning. These were the only red, other than being like a dark burgundy, that I could find. I don't know what kind of flowers they are. They're pretty though. And I was debating, do I want these in here or do I not? And I'm still debating on that. So we might have just the right amount of red in here, but I do know that I absolutely love these. We used this yesterday in the bigger bee wreath. And this is, I don't even know what kind of spray it is, but I like it because it's almost like those paperish kind of flowers. But these turn out, you get 3 different, when you open these up, there's literally like 3 different sections to it. I used one yesterday. There was another section over here. And I pulled them off in sections and I used them. So that's what we're gonna do today. All right, so let's get this bee. He should be pretty well dried. Yes. All right, let's get him attached. We know that he is going at the top. And we are going to have him flying out. And again, because we are attaching him, I want to try to attach him as close to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Probably not. But I'm going to try to attach him as close to the core of the wreath as possible. Oh, how funny is that? I'm like, why is this not twisting onto anything? I was twisting it to itself. And that's why. And if you know anything about wreaths and stuff, you're feeling your way to having to attach 90% of your stuff. We want him to be nice and secured, but we don't want him to be too sucked down in. Okay? But yet we want him to be nice and secured in here because we don't want him to fall off. But we want him to still be nice and seen. Okay, so his little bumblebee butt, the bee butt, is nicely done in here. And now we just got to get him here in his chest area. And I kind of always just take this off the edge here so that I can get a good grip and find out I can tuck it underneath. So the worst thing is if you're shipping something out and you know those boxes get tossed around, you don't want things coming apart. Including our honeybee. Trying to get these greenery all worked around his legs because he's got these bee legs happening here. Okay. There we go. Okay, I think he's pretty secure in there. Give him a little tug, make sure he's in there good. He seems to be in there good. And go back through and fluff up your ribbon, which seems to be the never-ending story with ribbon. Okay. There we are. Let's fix his wings up a little. He's standing up there front and center. And I might want to pull this ribbon out and away from him so that he can be seen a little better. Okay. So it looks like he kind of just landed up there. And that's what we want. Okay, I think I got... I'm going to do the little clip here. There we go. All right, so he just kind of went and landed on our swag. Okay, so time to add our floral. Okay, let's get this. All right, so back to this. We are going to use these. I love them because they're very wispy. And they're like them paper flowers, but they're super wispy looking. They're very airy. So literally you just pull them all around. You're kind of thinking, what is she doing? Because we just have this all up and around. We kind of really sprayed it out. But once we put it in, it just flows so nicely. And I know my first batch is going right into here. And I always place my flowers in before I secure them in, just to make sure if that's where I really want it to be, before I glue it. And the nice thing about swags is, greenery swags like these, is the hot glue adheres to it, where Deco Mesh does not take hot glue to itself or anything else very well. But this does. So this makes it very, very nice to work with. And then when I put it in here, I kind of give it a wiggle, because I want it to touch as much substance in there as I can get it to touch. See how it's in here? And we'll manipulate these branches in a little bit. I just want it to get really, I want the glue to settle. And this is where I need my stem cutter, because I really struggle with this. Cutting this. That one wasn't too bad. Oh, I see we got a couple hopping on, huh? Well, good morning. It is about 11:15 here in Pennsylvania. And then it's kind of got these little weird greenery things here. I kind of just roll them and then I twist them. And then I pull them apart. So they become curlicues. I don't know if that's what they're supposed to be, but that's kind of what I make them. Okay, so I'm going to put another one at the top up here. And again, if you're new to wreath making, the easiest way to do something is, when I learned how to do them, is whatever you do on one side, you do on the other side. So that would be called a symmetrical design. And that's the easiest way to do something, to learn, until you started getting into the asymmetricals. Symmetrical is very pleasing to the eye. So you can never go wrong with that. And when you're getting your material out, please keep track of all the material that you've used, so you know how to properly price your products. Okay, a lot of people really struggle with that. They're like, well, I don't know what to charge. And the easiest way to do that is, take your material, keep track of it. How much material did you use? the cost of the material and total it up. Then when it's all totaled, double or triple that amount, okay? A lot of people say, well, I want, you know, $10, $20 an hour for my time. But that's great. But let me tell you, as you do make wreaths, and you will get quicker, you will get better, you will get faster. I just do the general rule of thumb 2 or 3 times the amount that my material is. And then that usually accounts for however long it took me anyway, so it works itself out that way. See, this is where I need this. This is where I could use the stem cutter when I get into things like this. Just trying to find an open spot for this. Let's see where we're at. Well, sometimes trying to find the open area to put something is not the easiest. I will open that up a little better once it dries, or the glue sets basically. I usually open it up like this, and then I'll go back and then I'll finagle it once it sets in there and it gets a good grip. Ooh, touched a little bit of that hot glue. Okay, I'm gonna do 2 more down here, so I'm gonna need to grab 1 more of these. So that gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me maybe see if we can just do 1 more. See what that'll look like. I'll put this toward the bottom. I'm gonna curl these tops. No one's chit-chatting today. If you're here, say hello. Let me know my comments are working. Because the other day I was on here, I had 0 comments. And I don't know if I had something shut off. Just say hello. Let me know you're here and my comments are working. Oh, see some of that glue poke through. That's why I got burnt. See if I can stick this in here without it being kind of weird. Really would like to put this in here somehow Let's see how we can work this in here. There we go. Okay, found it. Got it really attached to that greenery, which is nice. Okay, so let's go around. We're going to refluff out some of this yellow floral so that it's a little bit more wispy, kind of wild, which we kind of want it to look like. You don't want your florals to just lay flat. You want them to have some height, some depth. So, you know, pop them upward. Let them move a little. Don't let them just lay flat outward. You know, in nature, things are kind of just, they grow out wild. They don't just lay out flat, and that's what you don't want. You don't want your swag to be flat. You want it to have movement. It looks like the bee is landing on those flowers up there. He's happy to be in the floral, in the sweet smelling flowers. The never-ending bow fluffing. Okay. Now, let's get a little bit of greenery in here. It's still, let me cut off one of these and just see what they look like. It's not a favorite. But it's not completely out of the question. If I could even find a spot to stick this. Okay. This is still kind of up in the air, but we're going to see what it looks like. Let's keep this for another time. These are pretty flowers. I don't know what they are, but they're very pretty. This isn't going to go. What is not going to happen here? Sometimes the struggle's real. Okay, let me see. Sometimes you just got to hold it up and see how it is. I see a little wonkiness here, so I'm going to cut this off. I might put 2 at the top, and then I might be happy with that. Again, working in odd numbers. So if I'm going to do any, I'm either going to do 3 or I'm going to do 5. It's just the way it's gonna be. Leg so that it's kind of just popping. Okay, I'm going to do that. We're going to put the red in. It's just going to give it enough red in there that it's going to be just perfect. He definitely looks like he's coming for that red flower now. I don't know what that red flower is, but they're very pretty. They're bulky. So it definitely gives it a lot of nice substance if you're looking for a little bit of a bigger, not overwhelming flower. I think these ones are perfect. Here, or do I want this in here, which it won't go down in. So this one might be telling me where it's going, although I really want it up here. Let me see if I can finagle this down in. Okay, there we go. Found an opening. There it is. So, what do you think so far? What do you think so far? Is my comments not working? Because I don't see anything. Just don't see anything. Now we're going to shorten these ribbon up at the end because they're at the point where they're on my nerves. So we're just going to shorten them down. Oh, I got some glue on that one anyways. Look at that. Had to anyways. Sometimes that's a horrible thing when you get glue on your pieces. Like somewhere you got it on a flower, or you're like, man, ruined that, got to cut it off or do something to it. Sometimes, you know, the best way to do it is hide it. You can put things over it, hide it. I love hiding. Hiding those mistakes. You just add to it. Add something over it. Here, are these all okay? I think they're all glued in now, finally. Let's curl this in. We are almost finished. I'm going to put a little bit maybe of greenery in here. We're going to see. Just again, fluffing up, making sure all of our ribbons are good. And when you go to photograph your stuff, your items, please, please, please check your ribbons. Make sure everything is perfect because you want it to be perfect. Especially when you are, people don't want to see a wonky bow. That's all I got to say. They don't want to see your ribbon all ruffled up and curled and messed up and mashed up. They don't want to see that. They want to see everything in perfection. Okay? All right, I got a little bit of greenery. We may go in. And and that's a May. Let me see what I got here. Let me see if I have something else I like here. Just got all kind of stuff hanging out over here. I have this greenery, and I have some boxwood. Boxwood, I love boxwood. So let me see about adding a little bit of boxwood in here just to throw some more greenery in. I might just say no, and enough is enough, but we're gonna see. Can you overdo something? Sometimes. Sometimes I go back and I'm like, I should have stopped when I stopped. And this is just boxwood. I love boxwood because boxwood, if you can get it, it is a great filler. This is my go-to for almost everything. It's a great filler. Again, just trying to find the spot where I can put this, because I'm getting to the point where all of my branches and everything has been used up. And I need it to stick to some greenery or it's not going to stick. And I'm having a hard time finding that greenery. Okay, we're going to come back to that side. How about that? I don't want to cover up my bead, but I do want to put something in there. So let's get a little piece to put in there, because I don't want to hide him, but there's a big gap in here with nothing, and it needs something. So I'm just going to fill in this hole right here. So that it wasn't just a gap, because there was a hole there. Sometimes I will put some greenery in my bows, in the middle, around the edge. I don't think this one needs it though, so I'm gonna leave that alone. I am gonna put a piece in here though. sure that sticks in there, give it a wiggle. Okay. Okay. I was hoping to get one up here, but I don't know if it really needs all this. All right, definitely needs that hole there filled. So we are going to put this in here. There's a little hole in there that I don't want that needed covered. Let me go see if I have another piece of boxwood. All right, I do not think I do. So we're going to add several little stems to it. I got one smaller area over here that needs some boxwood. So we'll stick some smaller stems in. How about that? Well, I got some glue on that, I guess. Can't see it, but I guess there's a little drop there because it's hot. Okay, I think we are going to be done. No pun intended. One funky little gap right here. Let's cover this in maybe. It's just a weird opening. Where I tied in my ribbon. So I want to cover that up because I don't like that. You can, it looks like it's tied in. So let's fill that in because I don't want people to realize that it's tied in. We want it to look more natural. Okay. Let's make sure everything's secured. Everything's in nicely. Nothing's falling out. And I think we are finished. We are finished. Oh, put that over there. And this is a much smaller wreath. This is going to be ending up to be, let me measure it. I'm going to cut these down even a little bit smaller. Alright, so this ended up being, when it's all said and done, from the top to the hanger, it ends up being about 20, maybe about 28 inches. Not too bad. So we've only added maybe about 4 inches just with the flowers and that coming in. So that's not bad at all. This is probably going, not probably, this is going on my door. This is actually mine. I have the bigger one. If anybody's looking, get a string here, I want to get off. If anybody's looking for a door hanger, the B one, I have the longer one. It's available in my shop. Okay, let me just curl these up a little bit nicer. Let me show you the finished product. There we go. So this one is going on my door. This will be gracing my door for the summer. And like I said, there's a hanger on the back. They made a branch, a loop, which is, oh hello. Did I just pull out a, I might have. Might have to go back and tuck it in. There we go. Well done. It's beautiful. All right. So everybody who was here lurking in the background, thank you very much for joining me. And until next time, I will be back again next week, sometime here with a live. So who knows, never know what we're going to be doing. All right, I love you guys. And you all.